Hello, everyone. Good morning, Todd. Your life will break you. Not once, not gently, and not when it's convenient. There will be moments when everything you counted on collapses. A relationship ends. A dream fails. Someone betrays you. You lose something you thought you couldn't live without. And in those moments, it doesn't feel like motivation posters. It feels like survival. When life breaks you, your first instinct is often to deny it. You tell yourself you're fine. You smile in front of people. You distract yourself with work, your phone, noise, anything that keeps you from sitting still long enough to feel the crack in your heart. But here's the truth: strength does not begin with pretending, strength begins with honesty. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. Pain is not a sign that you are weak. It is a sign that something mattered to you. When you lose something important, a relationship, a dream, an opportunity, a version of your life you thought was certain, of course it hurts. Why wouldn't it? You invested your time, your energy, your hope. Feeling pain doesn't mean you're falling apart. It means you were brave enough to care. But many people believe that being strong means suppressing emotion. They think strength looks like silence, like toughness, like never crying. That's not strength. That's avoidance. And avoidance always collects interest. The feelings you push down don't disappear. They wait, they grow, they come back louder as anger, bitterness, anxiety, or exhaustion. Real strength is saying, "This hurts." Real strength is admitting, "I didn't expect this. I'm disappointed. I'm struggling. I'm struggling." There is power in naming your pain. When you give it words, you shrink its control over you. When you allow yourself to feel it, you begin the process of moving through it. Acceptance does not mean you approve of what happened. It does not mean you're approve of what happened. It does not mean you're okay with being hurt. It means you stop fighting reality. And the moment you stop fighting reality, you free up energy to rebuild. Think about this. When a bone breaks, doctors don't pretend it's not broken. They examine it, they set it properly, they protect it while it heals. Emotional pain works the same way. You have to examine it. Where does it hurt? What exactly are you grieving? The person, the future you imagined, the version of yourself you lost. Be specific. Clarity reduces chaos. Allow yourself space to feel without judgment. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to sit quietly, sit. If you need to talk, talk. If you need to write everything you're feeling just to get it out of your head, do that. Feeling is not failure, it is processing. But here's the key: feel it fully. Don't live in it permanently. There is a difference between acknowledging pain and building a home inside it. You're allowed to grieve. You are not meant to stay stuck. Acceptance is the first step, not the final destination. Once you admit, yes, this broke me, you can then ask, now how do I rebuild? And rebuilding always starts from truth. When you stop pretending, you become grounded. When you become grounded, you become steady. And when you become steady, you become strong. So if life has broken you, don't rush to cover the cracks. Don't shame yourself for feeling low. Don't compare your pain to someone else's and decide you don't deserve to feel it. Your pain is valid because it's yours. Strength is not about being unbreakable. Nothing in life is unbreakable. Strength is about being repairable, adaptable, honest enough to say I'm hurting, and brave enough to say, but I'm not done, to say, but I'm not done. The moment you accept the pain instead of denying it, you take back control. And that is where real resilience begins. Expand 200 to 600 words. When life breaks you, it's easy to confuse what happened with who you are. A relationship ends and suddenly you feel unlovable. A business fails and you label yourself a failure. You get rejected and you decide you're not good enough. This is one of the most dangerous mental traps you can fall into. Turning an experience into an identity. What happened to you is an event. It is not a definition. There is a powerful difference between saying, I failed, and I am a failure. One describes a moment, the other creates a life sentence. When you attach your identity to your worst experiences. You carry them everywhere. They shape how you see yourself, how you show up, and what you believe you deserve. Staying strong when life breaks you means drawing a clear line between circumstance and character. You can lose a job and still be talented. You can go through heartbreak and still be worthy of love. You can make a mistake and still be intelligent. You can struggle and still be strong. The problem is that when we're in pain, our mind looks for simple explanations. It tries to make sense of chaos by creating a story, and the easiest story is often the harshest one. This happened because there's something wrong with me. That story feels certain. It feels final, but it is rarely true. Life is complex. Outcomes are influenced by timing, other people's decisions, market conditions, emotional maturity, miscommunication, and countless factors outside your control. Reducing all of that complexity into "I'm not enough" is inaccurate and unfair to yourself. You must actively challenge the identity your pain is trying to hand you. Your pain is trying to hand you. Ask yourself, is this a fact or is this a feeling? Feeling rejected does not mean you are unworthy. Feeling embarrassed does not mean you are incapable. Feeling broken does not mean you are beyond repair. Emotions are temporary states. Identity is a long-term belief. Don't let a temporary state rewrite your long-term belief about who you are. One powerful shift is to view your experiences as chapters, not conclusions. Every strong person you admire has chapters they don't post about, chapters of doubt, failure, loss. But those chapters were part of their story, not the definition of it. You are not the worst thing that happened to you and phased. You are not the worst thing that happened to you. In fact, often the very experiences that try to shrink your identity are the ones that refine it. They strip away your resilience. They reveal your resilience. They force you to discover strengths you didn't know you had. But that only happens if you refuse to let the pain label you. Speak differently about yourself. Instead of "I'm terrible at relationships," say, "I'm learning what I need in relationships." Instead of "I'm bad at business," say, "I'm gaining experience." Language matters because language shapes belief, and belief shapes behavior. If you believe you are broken, you will act small. If you believe you are learning, you will try again. Staying strong means protecting your identity fiercely. It means reminding yourself daily, "I am more than this moment. I am more than this moment. I am more than this mistake. I am more than this loss." Your identity should be built on your values, your effort, your character, not on outcomes you cannot fully control. Life may shake you, it may humble you, it may force you to start over, but it does not get to define you unless you allow it to. You are not your failure. You are not your heartbreak. You are not your lowest day. You are the person who is still here, still breathing, still learning, still rising, still rising, still rising. That is strength. Expand 300 to 600 words. When life breaks you, the hardest part is the feeling of powerlessness. Everything can seem chaotic, plans collapse, people disappoint you, outcomes don't go the way you expected. And in that storm of uncertainty, your mind starts racing, trying to fix everything at once. That's when overwhelm takes over. But here's the truth. You don't regain strength by controlling everything. You regain strength by controlling everything. You regain strength by controlling something. When everything feels out of control, narrow your focus. Ask yourself one simple question. What is in my control right now? You cannot control other people's behavior. You cannot control the past. You cannot control every outcome. But you can control your next action. But you can control your next action. Strength is built in small, disciplined decisions, not dramatic, heroic gestures. It's built when you get out of bed, even though you don't feel like it, when you respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally, when you choose to take one productive step instead of spiraling into worst case scenarios. After a major setback, your mind wants big answers. How do I fix my entire life? That question is too heavy. It freezes you. Instead, shrink the focus. What can I do in the next 10 minutes? That question creates movement. Maybe it's sending one email. Maybe it's organizing your space. Maybe it's going for a short walk. Maybe it's simply drinking water and taking a deep breath. Small actions restore momentum. Momentum restores confidence, and confidence rebuilds strength. When you're overwhelmed, think of your energy like a flashlight in a dark room. If you try to light up the entire room at once, it feels impossible, but if you focus the beam on one step ahead, you can move forward safely. Then the next step becomes visible. Then the next step, control, also means managing your reactions. You may not control what happens, but you always have influence over how you respond. That pause between stimulus and response is where your power lives. When something painful happens, give yourself space before reacting. Breathe. Think. Choose deliberately instead of emotionally. Emotional reactions often feel powerful in the moment, but disciplined responses create long-term strength. Another area you control is your effort. You can't guarantee results, but you can guarantee commitment. Show up. Try again, learn, adjust. The effort itself becomes a source of pride. Even if the outcome isn't perfect, you know you didn't quit on yourself. You also control your boundaries. If life breaks you because you gave too much, tolerated too much, or ignored red flags, this is your opportunity to reset. Decide what you will and won't accept moving forward. That decision alone restores a sense of control. Strength grows when you stop focusing on what was taken from you and start focusing on what remains within you. Discipline becomes your anchor. Routine becomes your stability. When emotions are unpredictable, simple structure helps. Wake up at a consistent time, move your body, eat properly, do your work. These basic actions seem small, but they create a foundation that keeps you steady when everything else feels unstable. And here's something powerful. Every time you choose action over avoidance, you send yourself a message. You tell your brain, I am capable. That message builds resilience. Over time, those small wins compound into unshakable confidence and to unshakable confidences. Staying strong isn't about having control over life. It's about mastering yourself within life. When the storm hits, don't try to control the wind. Adjust your sails, focus on what's in your hands, take the next step, then the next. You don't need to rebuild everything today. You don't need to rebuild everything today. You just need to move forward, one controlled, intentional action at a time. That is how strength returns. Expand 400 to 600 words. When life breaks you, one of the first questions that rises in your mind is, why me? Why did this happen? Why now? Why this loss, this betrayal, this failure? It's a natural reaction. Your brain wants an explanation. It wants fairness. It wants logic. But the problem with why me is that it often keeps you trapped. Why me pulls you into comparison. Why me pulls you into self-pity. Why me pulls you into self-pity. Why me pulls you into blame. And while those emotions are human, they don't move you forward. The strongest shift you can make in a breaking moment is changing the question. Instead of asking, why me? Ask, what now? That small shift changes everything. Why me looks backward. What now looks forward. Why me focuses on what you lost. What now focuses on what you can build. Why me keeps you powerless. What now restores your agency. When you ask, what now restores your agency. When you ask, what now, you activate problem-solving mode instead of victim mode. You begin searching for options instead of explanations. You start looking for possibilities instead of fairness. And here's a difficult truth. Life is not always fair. Good people go through heartbreak. Hardworking people face failure. Loyal people get betrayed. If you wait for life to make sense before you move forward, you may stay stuck for years. But when you ask, what now? You take responsibility. for your next chapter. Even if you didn't choose the ending of the last one, what now might mean learning a new skill after losing a job. It might mean setting stronger boundaries after being hurt. It might mean rebuilding your confidence after rejection. It might mean letting go of what you hoped for and accepting what is. This question doesn't deny your pain. It simply refuses to let pain be the final word. Another powerful element of what now is growth. Every setback carries information. Every breakdown carries a lesson, even if it's uncomfortable. When you stop asking why it happened and start asking what it's teaching you, you transform suffering into wisdom. Maybe it's teaching you patience. Maybe it's teaching you self-respect. Maybe it's teaching you self-respect. Maybe it's teaching you resilience. Maybe it's revealing strengths you didn't know you had. Sometimes the lesson isn't about what you did wrong. Sometimes it's about what you tolerated too long. Sometimes it's about what you tolerated too long. Sometimes it's about what you outgrew. When you adopt a what now mindset, you stop waiting for someone else to fix your situation. You stop expecting closure from people who can't give it. You stop hoping the past will change. Instead, you step into leadership over your own life. And leadership begins with ownership. Ownership doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means recognizing that while you may not control what happened, you control what happened. You control what happened. Ends, next. That is powerful. Even small, what now actions build momentum if you're heartbroken. What now might mean focusing on your health. If you failed, what now might mean analyzing what went wrong and adjusting your strategy. If you were rejected, what now might mean applying again or somewhere better. The future is shaped by that question. Every strong person you admire has faced moments that could have defined them negatively. The difference is they didn't stay in why me. They moved to what now faster than most. So when life breaks you, allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to process, but don't build a home in the question of why. At some point, gently but firmly ask yourself, what now? That question is the doorway to resilience. That question is the beginning of rebuilding. That question is where strength is reborn. Expand 500 to 600 words. When life breaks you, the most dangerous place is not always outside of you. It's inside your own mind. Because when you're hurt, disappointed, or overwhelmed, your thoughts can turn against you. And if you don't guard your mind carefully, those thoughts will deepen the wound. Your mind can be your greatest weapon or your greatest enemy. In difficult seasons, negative thoughts become louder. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. Nothing ever works for me. This is the end. These thoughts feel real because they're emotional. They're intense, but intensity does not equal truth. When you're in pain, your brain shifts into survival mode. It looks for threats. It magnifies risks. It predicts worst-case scenarios in an attempt to protect you. But in doing so, it often creates fear that is bigger than reality. Staying strong means recognizing that not every thought deserves your true start just because you think something doesn't make it true. Thoughts are mental events, not facts. And if you accept every negative thought without questioning it, you slowly build a belief system based on fear. That's why guarding your mind is essential. Start by becoming aware of your internal dialogue. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself when things go wrong. Would you talk to someone you love the way you talk to yourself? Probably not. You would offer compassion, encouragement, perspective. Yet with yourself, you may default to criticism and harsh judgment. Strength requires changing that pattern. When a negative thought appears, pause, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this completely true? Is there another way to see this? What evidence do I have that contradicts this belief? Diverge. For example, if your mind says, I can't handle this, remind yourself of past challenges you survived. If it says, I'll never recover, remind yourself that emotions are temporary. If it says, I'm a failure, list your past successes and efforts. You don't fight negative thinking with blind positivity. You fight it with balanced truth. Another powerful tool is controlling what you feed your mind. When life breaks you, You are emotionally sensitive. The content you consume, the people you listen to, and the conversations you engage in matter deeply. Constant negativity, online or offline, will reinforce hopelessness. Choose inputs that strengthen you, not drain you. You have to surround yourself with voices that remind you of your strength. Read words that expand your perspective. Listen to messages that empower you. What you repeatedly expose your mind to becomes your internal soundtrack, becomes your internal soundtrack. Also, practice mental discipline through gratitude and focus. Even in difficult times, there are all things that remain stable: your health, your skills, your ability to learn, supportive people, opportunities ahead. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it prevents pain from consuming your entire mental space. Guarding your mind also means limiting rumination. Replaying the same painful moment over and over does not change it. It only strengthens the emotional charge. When you catch yourself stuck in that loop, gently redirect your attention to action, to breathing, to something constructive, and perhaps most importantly, speak strength into yourself intentionally. Tell yourself, this is hard, but I am capable. Tell yourself, I am learning. Tell yourself, I will get through this. Your brain listens to the words you repeat. Over time, those words shape your identity. When life breaks you, you may not control the event, but you control the meaning you assign to it. And that meaning is built inside your mind. Guard it fiercely, because the battle for strength is first won internally. And when your mind is steady, even the hardest seasons cannot destroy you. Expand 600 words. When life breaks you, it can feel like something is being taken away. Your confidence, your certainty, your sense of control, the version of your future you had carefully imagined. It feels like loss, and in many ways it is, but what if breaking is not just an ending? What if it is also a beginning? There is a powerful truth most people don't talk about. Growth almost always requires pressure. Muscles grow by tearing under resistance. Diamonds are formed under intense heat and compression. Steel is strengthened in fire. Nature itself shows us that strength is not created in comfort. It is created through challenge. You are no different. When something in your life breaks, a relationship, a plan, a belief about yourself, it forces you to confront reality. It strips away illusions. It exposes weaknesses. It reveals where you depended on things that were unstable. That exposure feels painful, but it is also clarifying. Breaking moments reveal who you are and who you are becoming. Often before growth happens, there is a dismantling. You outgrow environments. You outgrow habits. You outgrow habits. You outgrow versions of yourself that were built for a different season. But outgrowing doesn't feel comfortable. It feels like loss. It feels like confusion. It feels like standing in the middle of something collapsing. Yet sometimes what is collapsing is not your life. It is the structure that was limiting you. When life breaks you, it creates space. Space for stronger boundaries, space for deeper self-awareness, space for deeper self-awareness, space for resilience you didn't know you had. Think about the strongest people you admire. Their strength did not come from a smooth path. It came from adversity, from failure, from rejection, from moments when quitting would have been easier than continuing. Breaking changes you. And that's the point. You are not meant to go through hardship and come out the exact same person. You are meant to come out wiser, more grounded, more discerning, less naive, more self-trusting. Sometimes the breaking teaches you self-respect. Sometimes it teaches you self-respect. Sometimes it teaches you patience. Sometimes it teaches you that you can survive things you once thought would destroy you. That knowledge, that lived experience becomes unshakable confidence. There is also humility in breaking. It reminds you that you are human, that you cannot control everything, that you need rest, reflection, and sometimes help. And humility is not weakness, it is maturity. The key is not resisting the transformation. If you fight the lesson, you prolong the pain. If you refuse to change, you repeat the cycle. But when you ask, who is this shaping me to become? You shift from resistance to growth. Breaking is often the transition between who you were and who you are capable of being. The old mindset cracks, the old fears are exposed, the old limitations become visible. And in that exposure, you gain the opportunity to rebuild stronger foundations built on truth, not illusion, built on experience, not assumption. You may never be the same after life breaks you, but that does not mean you are ruined. It may mean you are refined. So don't fear the breaking, respect it, learn from it, let it stretch you, let it teach you, let it transform you. Because sometimes the strongest version of you is not the one who avoided hardship, it's the one who walked through it, felt it deeply, and came out changed, not shattered, but shaped